they were called the Aints, but they ain't anymore. After Sunday's victory, they're the New Orleans Saints who have marched their way into the playoffs. It's Tuesday, and NFL players day off. On this morning, Drew Pearson relaxes with Saints players deep within Louisiana's swampland. In the prime of his NFL career, this all-pro safety left the game to pursue a second profession. Today, he is a doctor of ophthalmology, as you will see in this week's Where Are They Now? We've traveled to New Orleans to visit the first-time playoff-bound Saints. Joining us will be quarterback Bobby Hebert, kicker Morten Andersen, and defensive players Waymer and Sam Mills.
And now, from the city of jazz on the banks of the Mississippi, inside the NFL with your hosts, Len Dawson and Nick Buoniconti.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. If this setting looks familiar, it should. We're in Jackson Square in the French Quarter in New Orleans. Behind us, St. Louis Cathedral, the oldest cathedral in America. In front of us, the mighty Mississippi. We were at this site 2 years ago when we previewed Super Bowl 20. And Nick, at that time, when we mentioned anything about New Orleans, it was generally the people or the food, because they are terrific. We never mentioned their football team because they were generally one of the worst.
Lenny, that's all changed. 21 years of frustration right down the drain. Sunday night, they beat Tampa Bay. They got into the playoffs. The fans erupted right here in the French Quarter.
You talk about frustrations, 21 years. Down here, it's called Mardi Gras time, the biggest celebration. But I think this, if this team continues to win, Mardi Gras is going to come in second place to the celebrating.
Lenny, the longest winning streak in the NFL, 6 games. It started on November 1st, yes, on All Saints Day, and it is a party here in New Orleans. Well, that wasn't always the way here in New Orleans, and this isn't a team that went from rags to riches. This is a team that went from bags to riches, because when they were bad, there was an organization called the Aints, and we have the original bag man with us today, the Channel 6 sportscaster man who really publicized the Aints, Buddy Diliberto. Buddy, please tell us, how did the Aints get going?
Nick, it was after the 5th game of the 1980 season. They were 0-5, 14 years into the franchise, and it was hard to say something positive about them. So we got the idea that until they won a game on the Sunday night telecast, we'd put a bag on our head when we gave the Saints report. And thinking that maybe it would lighten things up a little bit for the fans who were very depressed, not thinking it would go 9 more weeks before winning a game. And during that time, of course, we took the S off of the Saints and made it the Aints, and the fans got behind it to a degree and started making real Cadillac-looking bags, some of them with electric lights and things like that, and it just carried until they finally won a game.
Buddy, about right now, where are these Aints fans now since they've got a winning season?
Len, they've taken the bags off. They've even burned the bag after their latest victory, and they're in the stands, and they're proud of their football team, and they're proud of the new ownership in the organization now.
Buddy, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. So you got Buoniconti and Diliberto. Do you see the hands, folks? They were moving them all. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Len, thank you. Sir.
You know, when you study the history of the Saints and their quest for a winning season, you know, they've only come close twice in 20 years. This year, it's different. With 9 victories, not only do they have a winning season, but a playoff berth. Their victory over Tampa Bay shot them as high as they could go in the charts so far, but they don't want to stop there. They want to send it clear off the board.
Faith in the Saints? You can see it even on the faces of fans no longer hiding behind bags. But last Sunday, Tampa Bay quarterback Vinny Testaverde put fan faith to the test in his first pro start. Testaverde scorched the league's top defense for 369 yards, an NFL rookie record. If Saints fans felt betrayed, they were soon able to find more than enough consolation. Mel Gray returned this punt 80 yards and another for 50. Both times stopped within shouting distance of the goal line. But on this Sunday, there would be no stopping the Saints' offense and quarterback Bobby Hebert from being anything but crowd pleasers. Hebert found tight end John Tice for 2 first-quarter touchdowns. New Orleans running game took care of the rest, providing the Saints with their 6th straight win and for the first time in their 21-year history, a playoff berth. That delighted players and fans, and as expected, brought out the boogie in Saints owner Tom Benson. While New Orleans fans prepare for the postseason, Giant fans are happy their regular season is almost over. But at the Meadowlands last Sunday, the world champs played as if their title was on the line. The Giants built a 20-6 fourth quarter lead against the Eagles, but Randall Cunningham had yet to have his final say. Cunningham threw 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes, sending the contest into overtime, when kicker Raul Alegre calmly quieted any Philadelphia thoughts of victory. But even the win did little to console the Giants, a team finding it hard to keep its head up. While New York looks ahead to next season, Cincinnati coach Sam Weish has spent the last few weeks looking over his shoulder. His Bengals have found more ways to lose than Columbia University and seem to have found another against the Chiefs. Kevin Ross picked up this blocked kick and returned it 65 yards for a touchdown, the 4th Bengal field goal blocked this season. Cincinnati looked doomed for its 7th loss in the last 8 games. But in the face of adversity, Bengals hard-luck quarterback Boomer Esiason was able to find a pair of soft hands. Cincinnati struck for a fourth-quarter touchdown. The game was sent into overtime, usually the kiss of death for the Bengals. Not this time. Jim Breach atoned for his blocked kick with a 32-yard game winner and ended a hex in the process. The Bengals had finally won a close one. In Miami, they don't believe in nail-biters. The up-and-down Dolphins seem to either lose disastrously or win in big ways. Given the option Monday night, Troy Stratford made the obvious choice. The Dolphins got 3 first-half touchdowns from the rookie runner and breezed to a 27-0 halftime lead. But how quickly do Miami's tropical winds change course? The New York Jets dig themselves so many holes, they're finally learning to climb out of them. In the end, though, the hole was simply too deep. The 37-28 Miami win put the Jets and Dolphins back where they started, at 500 and in the middle of the pack. After 21 years, the Saints' long road to the playoffs has finally come to an end.
21 years, is that a long time to wait or not? You know, the people who've been fans of the Saints since they got their franchise, they've had to endure over a long period of time. And that includes our next guest, quarterback Bobby Hebert of the New Orleans Saints. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Now, you're from here. Cut Off, Louisiana is your hometown. Northwestern Louisiana, you went to college. I understand since a young boy you were a Saints fan. Now, these fans are also your type of people. What does it mean to you to make the playoffs?
Well, you know, originally when I first signed with the Saints, it was a situation where, you know, coming back home, either I'm going to be the hero or the GOAT, and when things are working out, you know, people tend to appreciate it. And to make the playoffs, it's just a dream come true. You know, I was raised here even before the Superdome was in existence, and, you know, old Tulane Stadium, so there's no better fans, I believe, in the whole United States that you have here in New Orleans. They're just so hungry for a winner, and I'm glad we're able to give them that this year.
I want to ask you about you and your performance. When you were in the USFL, it was bombs away. Now you have Moore as the coach, and he's more of a conservative type of a coach. How difficult has it been for you to go from the bombs away to the conservative offense?
Well, I've had to change my characteristics and, my offensive ability. I've always been fortunate to be blessed with great wide receivers. I played with Mark Duper in college, and when Anthony Carter was now with the Vikings in the USFL, and I was used to 2- and 3-play drives, but I've had to change my style a little bit and, get used to being conservative as far as having 10, 11, 12-play drives and just taking what the defense gives you and just eating up the clock, 11 or 12-minute drives.
How comfortable are you in this system?
Well, I think it has really helped me being able to run the same offense 2 years in a row. I've had to adjust and be more disciplined. And Coach Moore has basically said all we have to do in your position at quarterback, if you throw over 175 yards, that's basically be enough, and don't have any mistakes or turnovers, and we'll play strong defensive football, strong specialty teams, and just control the tempo of the game with the run and the pass.
Bobby, it seems to me that Coach Moore really has instilled some real principles here. But I want to ask you about Ruben Mays, because I think he has, a lot of people know about him, but I still think he's the most unpublicized, unheralded, great running back in the National Football League. And how does he make your team tick?
Well, he's a big play type running back, and, we're not playing in the L.A. or Chicago, New York market, so he's not going to get the publicity that probably he deserves. But, I think even this year, Dalton Hilliard has also complimented him, and I really believe in the NFL you have to have 2 top quality running backs, and Ruben will be the first one to tell you that he feels a lot, fresher going into the fourth quarter by us playing 2 running backs and him and Dalton. But, he's definitely improving his pass catching ability, and he's running as hard as ever. All you have to do is just give him a little crease.
Bobby, you play Houston this week here in New Orleans. Critical game for both of you. If anybody would have said this would have been important last year, they would have laughed at it. How are you approaching this ball game?
Well, I'm approaching like I have in the previous weeks. Coach Moore has emphasized that we've had success through hard work, and we can't dwell on our past laurels. We have to continue to work hard, and Houston will definitely be one of our toughest games this season.
Bobby, I got to tell you a story. I got off the airplane, and I was greeted by a New Orleans Saint fan, and he said to me, "Hey, Nick, we love the way we're winning here in New Orleans. Don't put a hex on us like you did to San Diego and Houston when you visited them." Well, hopefully I won't do that to you guys.
You have to put the hex back on you, Nick. I have to keep it away from us.
Well, hex must be true, because we visited San Diego. They were in first place. Since that time, they have lost 3 in a row. This past Sunday, they lost to a team that had lost 2 in a row, 3 out of their last 4, the Houston Oilers. And yes, Houston plays right here in New Orleans this Sunday.
If 3 weeks ago seems like ancient history to you, you're either a member of the San Diego Chargers or one of their fans. In the throes of a 3-game losing streak, things are so bad for the Chargers that even when they score, they look ugly doing it. Kellen Winslow's touchdown was more the exception than the rule Sunday, as Dan Fouts was in the crosshairs of a relentless Houston blitz. Fouts and company were about as well prepared for this blitzkrieg as Europe was in 1939, as linebacker Robert Lyle stormed 55 yards for the score. While the defensive spearhead had San Diego in full retreat with 5 sacks and 4 turnovers, Houston's infantry poured over the trenches. Or used diversionary tactics to puncture an unprotected flank. With their 33-18 win, Field Marshal Jerry Glanville's troops traveled to a 3-way tie for first in the AFC Central. Speaking of travelers, the Colts' Eric Dickerson was best advised to secure his possessions, as Cleveland's dog defense had been trained to sniff out carry-on luggage. And the carrier. With Dickerson held to 98 yards and no touchdowns, the league's number 2 scoring offense, led by Bernie Kosar, expected to take control. But Brian Brennan's touchdown catch would be all the heavily favored Browns could muster as they discovered to their dismay that these young colts were not bred for pony rides. Though an official ruled that Kosar was in the grasp of a tackler nullifying the interception, the play typified the problems created for Kosar by the Colts defense, such as the one caused by number 99, Donnell Thompson. Stubborn defense and 3 field goals were enough to give the surprising Colts a 9-7 upset win, leaving them alone atop the AFC East. While the Browns suddenly can't seem to find themselves, Chuck Noll has his Steelers pointed in the right direction. The stone-faced Noll has weathered his share of controversy this year, but Seattle's Steve Largent worked to chisel in a new frown. Noll's main headache has been the controversy surrounding quarterback Mark Malone. But his quarterback has his own way of coping, which is by merely running away from it. Steeler running back Frank Pollard didn't run away from anything except tacklers. Despite the so-called controversies, the Steelers have very quietly put together a good season and are in position to challenge for a division title.
Nowhere in my imagination did I ever think that Seattle would be 7-5 and possibly playing themselves out of the playoffs, and Pittsburgh would be 7-5 with the possibility of playing themselves into the playoffs. At best, Seattle is a definition of inconsistency. Well, our next guest is a man who is the definition of consistency. He's the most accurate kicker in NFL history. This year, he has kicked 13 out of 13 field goals from inside the 40-yard line. Morten Andersen. Morten, thank you for being on the show. In the past, the Saints offense used to say, let's get the ball inside the 40 and give Morten Andersen a chance to kick a field goal. This year, it's much more productive. How has your role changed on this ball club?
Well, I'm kicking more extra points for one, and that's good. That's positive. You know, in the past, I've always enjoyed being on the field and getting the 3 points, but I think now we're realizing we have to kick a lot of 3-pointers in order to win a football game now, with the teams getting better in the offensive explosiveness of the NFL. So I'm happy that the team's moving the football. My role basically just changed in the direction that more extra points, shorter field goals, and our punter is being used more to kick inside the 20-yard line, because if we're going to be in a 4th down situation, usually we're on the, it'll be a short punt for him or it'll be a long field goal for me, so we're going to go for the short punt. So I would say, I'm still doing my kickoffs, my field goals, and extra points, but I'm doing more extra points, and I'm pleased with that.
Morten, many people say that kickers are a different breed and they're really not part of the team. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't agree with that, Nick. I think, if you look in the league and the history of the league, you've seen many characters and many strange guys, and whether they're kickers or defensive linemen or quarterbacks. I mean, Kenny Stabler wasn't actually a straight-laced guy, so I don't think that statement holds true at all. But, our position merits that we are a little different, and that we're alone, and our trait is that, we have to take care of it ourselves. We're depending on the holder and the snapper, but overall, we're left alone a lot of times, and we're a goat one time and a hero the next minute. So, we just have to live as kickers well-balanced lives and that type of thing, and keep everything in perspective.
Morten, they said kickers are flaky, is what they generally say. I want to ask you about pressure. Now, here you are on the sideline, and when you have to win, a lot of times it's whether you win or lose the game. How do you handle the pressure?
Well, Len, I try to, during the week, just prepare myself so I'm completely confident going into the game, and I feel good from 55 yards and in. When we get to the 50-yard line, I remove myself from the rest of the team, and I'll kick 2 or 3 times in the net, in the warm-up net. And everybody on the team knows that they will not talk to me, because they just know that I like to be left alone. And, you know, once I'm on the field, I'm zoomed in on what I have to do, and I just don't hear anything. I don't hear the noise.
How important is playing indoors?
No, it's, you know, it's very important for a kicker. I mean, it helps you. You don't deal with the variables. You don't have the wind, the rain, the sog. I mean, you don't have to worry about, in Candlestick, Worthing's got to worry about, you know, slipping every other kick. And, I mean, I hate that place. I hate kicking out there. I hate kicking in Cleveland and Atlanta, but... And the Superdome is great, and our fans are there, so indoors is a big advantage.
That's
for us.
indoors. Let's talk about
Yeah.
something outdoors, an outdoor golf game that you took part in. What was that all about?
That was for the American Cancer Society a couple of weeks ago. It was a night golf. It started at 6 o'clock, and they used fluorescent golf balls. It had a little element of phosphor in it, and you put it in a hole in a golf ball. They don't travel as far as regular golf balls, but I actually shot better than I do during the day, which is all right. But I wouldn't recommend it. You know, it's hard to find water hazards and that type of thing. We found out a couple of times with a couple of carts went in the water. And, but it was overall a great event and for a good cause.
Morten, thank you very much. You're smiling now. That's the first time you smiled in several years with the Saints because you're on a roll. You smile. You're on a roll right now.
Thanks.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
On our NFL cover story this week, Drew Pearson got brave enough to venture deep into the swamps of Louisiana with a couple of the Saints players to find the big one.
When everything is going right for your football team, you really don't want to mess with your daily routine. Your one day off becomes very special to you. For Ruben Mays, star running back with the Saints, his one day off has become a ritual of venturing to the bayous of Cajun country to fish for redfish and speckled trout with a few of his teammates. Players stop at a local fish wholesaler to pay their respects. Life down here is tough. These are hard-working people. The owner, Ted Luke, transports fish all over the country.
I had 8,000 pounds I left with Saturday, and we got back this morning. We're going to load the truck. We're going to have another 9,000 going back north this afternoon, and then this truck here is going to go to Atlanta also.
Nestled in the southeast marshes of Louisiana is their favorite fishing hole. Just a short ride reveals the natural beauty of this land. At an early age, one learns the basic fundamentals of living with nature. When the fish don't bite right away, serious fishermen go to any length to get near their prey. For Ruben Mays, a country boy from Canada, his first try into fishing in the waters of this state proved futile until retired Saint Hokie Gajan took charge.
Ruben was fishing in the wrong place. He was fishing in Lake Pontchartrain, and I guess at times you can probably catch a lot of fish there. But, you know, he was going out and he was catching hardhead catfish, which, you know, down here that's trash. And, you know, maybe every now and then he might catch a decent fish, and I told him, you know, I said, well, come on, go with us. You know, we can put you down there on some good fish. And we took him down here and introduced him to a few people, and he got to catch some good fish, a lot of redfish and speckled trout, and I think he found out what it's like to fish in the good spots and, you know, get into a lot of fish. And, you know, Ruben down here now is a household name, so he doesn't need us guys anymore to take him fishing.
When I come down here, it's like actually being back up at home, because I come from a farming community up in Canada, and I come back down here, and the people are real down-to-earth people, and always willing to help you out, give you a helping hand, show you little tricks of the trade here and there as far as fishing. And it can be fishing or it could be anything, but they're just friendly people down here, and it really helps me to relax, you know, on my day off. And I can come down here and forget about football for a day, and just have some good company and enjoy some fishing.
Even yours truly, a city kid from South River, New Jersey, tried his hand at fishing. I guess I know why. I never tried this before. No luck on this day. It's remarkable how the Cajuns navigate these waters, with the tides changing so quickly because the Gulf of Mexico is so near. It's amazing they don't get lost. Despite the day's catch at a record low level, according to the players, a home-cooked meal awaits them, and the day winds down successfully, preparing the players for the rest of the week.
That kind of unwinds you. It makes you let loose of what happened last Sunday, you know, because you watch the film Monday and you see your good plays and your bad plays, and so it makes you forget about football for a day and get excited for Wednesday.
Boy, I never did anything like this on my off day. But I guarantee you, come tomorrow, those guys will be working their tails off getting ready for the playoffs. For HBO Sports in the Bayou Country, I'm Drew Pearson.
New Orleans' French Quarter was established in 1718 by King Louis XIV of France.
Nick, you got to love the French Quarter, the beauty, and also the food. But you know, they have been really torturing us for the last couple of hours because we can smell that terrific aroma of the beignets coming from the Café du Monde. Finally, I talked somebody into bringing it over. Vincent, how about it? All right.
Oh, wow, look at that. They don't hog the beignets now. Say something for me. Hey, can you imagine we're here eating beignets and Drew Pearson is in the bayou with the snakes and the alligators?
Well, somebody's got to eat this stuff. You know that. Folks, enjoy yourselves. Thank you, Vincent. You can't believe how good this really is. But you know, going back to that segment of what players do in their off day reminded me of Jan Stenrud when he and I played with the Kansas City Chiefs. After the game on Sunday, he'd say, Lamb, let's go play golf tomorrow. And I'd said, Jan, I can't. And he'd say, why? Because you got to work? I said, no, I can't. I won't be able to raise my hand over my head. I get hit out there. He never got hit. Finally, a field goal was blocked. It came right back to him. A guy speared him right in the chest. Well, the next morning when I arrived at the whirlpool, guess who's sitting in the tub? Jansky.
Oh, Jan Stenrud might have been in a whirlpool, but Jim McMahon, he'd have to have a whirlpool strapped to his back if he's going to minister to all the injuries that he's had. Jim McMahon is one of the guttiest players in the National Football League, but he's probably not exactly well-liked in the NFC Central Division, especially last Sunday in a place called the Roller Dome in Minneapolis.
In Minnesota, the Metrodome was given a new name, but that doesn't change old stories because there's never any skating by division rivals Chicago. William Perry rang the bell to get things started, and teammate Willie Gault heard it loud and clear. Gault's touchdowns put the Bears in control, but like a dizzying trip around the rink, Anthony Carter set heads in a spin. A couple of touchdowns later, Carter and the Vikings had laughed the Bears. With 5:01 remaining and a 24-23 lead, the Vikings had 4th and goal at the 1. The Bears and Mike Singletary needed one good body check, and got one. Replacing an injured Jim McMahon, Mike Tomczak played his role. With 40 seconds on the clock, he went to Dennis Gentry. Gentry then went all the way. The 30-24 win gave Chicago its 4th consecutive NFC Central Division title. While some may claim the LA Raiders are an assemblage of misfit, maladjusted, unwanted players, one can hardly argue that they and some of their fans have a rambunctious spirit. Then again, so does Buffalo linebacker Cornelius Bennett. Behind the running of number 33, Ronnie Harmon, the Bills may have gotten a little uppity in their bid for the playoffs. Two 8-yard runs and a stingy defense had the Bills as high as ever. Against Seattle 2 weeks ago, the Raiders restored some confidence and found a couple of new stars. Bo Jackson has certainly proved his worth in just his 7th pro game. But quarterback Mark Wilson is still trying in his 8th pro season. Wilson connected on 21 of 32 passes for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Raiders' 34-21 win was only their 5th of the season, and for the 6-6 Bills, what better place to be brought down to earth than sunny Los Angeles? This is not Denver's version of the Giants' victory dance following the Super Bowl a year ago. They are merely trying to get a rhythm together that will take them back to the game of games this year. Unfortunately, Reggie Dupart and the Patriots were dancing to a faster tune, which left some doubts as to whether KC Kasem would be playing this #1 hit in January. But John Elway moved the speed from 33 past 78 to number 84. Ricky Nattiel's 48-yard catch set the tone for Mark Jackson's touchdown. As Tom Landry said of Elway, he'll find more ways to win than anybody else. Lining up in shotgun formation on 4th and 3, Elway kicked a 31-yard punt to New England's 5. Elway's boot was perfect in aiding the Denver defense. New England quarterback Tom Ramsey's boot aided the entire Denver team. Mark Haynes' 14-yard interception return for a touchdown sealed a 31-20 win and moved the Broncos up one more notch in their climb for number 1.
He doesn't hold a candle to Fred Astaire, but if the Saints are winning, he'll jump in the air. Then he'll boogie all around and hug a player or two before he falls on the ground. He's a dancer now in the NFL, and he does the Benson boogie on the football field.
Well, Saints owner Tom Benson will love the boogie to this music that you're hearing right here on the Mississippi River. But he's boogieing all the way to the bank, and why not? He's the man who hired Jim Mora and Jim Finks, and the Saints are the hottest ticket in town. Well, talking about the struggle of the Saints to get to the top, our next guest has had his own struggle. He was cut by the Cleveland Browns and Toronto Argonauts, and only because Jim Mora became the head coach here at the Saints did he give him a chance to try out for middle linebacker, and he's made it, and he's made it big. He's Sam Mills, the defensive captain of the New Orleans Saints and the team leader. Sam, I have to ask you about your owner, Tom Benson. He boogies after he wins. How do the players feel about that?
Well, we love to see him dance. When he dances, we know that we've done something pretty good here in New Orleans. And this year, he's been able to dance quite a bit.
Well, let me ask you, when you first saw him do it, what did you think?
Well, when I first saw it, I was really shocked, to see an owner start dancing. But it was great. It was something different, and I enjoyed watching it.
There's your size. You're 5'9", 225 pounds. Everybody says you're undersized. Quite frankly, I think that's a perfect size for a middle linebacker.
Well, you should know because you are a short linebacker yourself, and I think it's something that helps me out being a short linebacker. It gives me an extra drive to play harder, and also it helps me shut off blockers.
Do you have any funny stories regarding your 5'9" height?
I think the funniest story is probably when I was in Toronto with the Argonauts trying out there. When it came time to measure with the other teammates around, I got up against the wall and I stood up on my toes as best I could. And at that time, the guy that was measuring me was reading off 6 feet. And everybody around me started laughing. I started laughing, started bobbing up and down, and they caught me because I started bobbing. And then they got the true measurement, which was 5'9"3/4.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, you've got a lion's heart. That's all that really counts.
Thanks a lot.
Sam, let me ask you about your defensive philosophy. What is it you're trying to accomplish with the Saints?
Well, basically, defensively, we feel like, we can be an aggressive defense and we can make things happen for our offense and also special teams. So we try to play a big part in the game. We try to turn momentum, make big plays, and make things happen.
What is your role in that defense?
Basically, my role is I'm in there to stop the run, and also I'm a signal caller. And when I'm in there, it's, you know, we think that the teams are going to run the football, and I try to be pretty active against the run.
Sam, I want to ask you about your coach, Jim Mora. You played with him in the USFL. What has he meant to your career?
Coach Mora has meant a lot to my career. If it wasn't for Coach Mora, I definitely wouldn't be here today. He's the one that's taken a chance, brought me in, and given me a chance to play in the NFL.
Thank you very much for taking time to join us on the show. Congratulations on making that first step, and that's to the playoffs. Now, the next one is really important, too, and that is how well you're going to do in sudden death playoff action. And I got this feeling, if you want to be in San Diego for Super Bowl 22, you're going to have to go through the 49ers once again.
Well, we faced them before, and we made out pretty good the last time out against them, and we feel like we can do the same again.
Thank you. I know one person that gets the attention of every defensive player when they take on the 49ers. That is number 16, Joe Montana, who's having another terrific year.
So you want your old dog to learn a few new tricks? Send him to obedience school. You want your dog to learn to catch? Send him to Joe Montana, the man who can make any mutt look like a golden receiver. Montana connected on his first 17 passes Sunday, which, coupled with a hot finish the previous week, gave him an NFL record 22 straight completions. And he did so under the most dogged of Packer pressure. But when life got too hot in the pocket, Montana simply found a way to leave it behind. Montana rushing for a touchdown is something you don't see every Sunday. But Montana hooking up with his favorite retriever is. For the 10th straight game, Jerry Rice found his way into the end zone, and his game-clinching score helped the 49ers clinch their 5th straight playoff appearance. Playoff possibilities have been long forgotten by even the most lion-hearted of Detroit fans, whose kings of the jungle have been reduced to the tamest of kitty cats. While the Lions are running with their tails between their legs, the Rams' Jim Everett is standing tall amid a late-season flourish. Everett picked on the Lions for a career-high 324 yards, 81 of which came in one big chunk. Henry Ellard's score helped Los Angeles cruise to a 37-16 win. 4 straight victories now have Everett and the Rams living up to their preseason billing. It's nearly impossible to live up to the likes of Dallas's legendary Roger Staubach, the true embodiment of grit and determination. The Cowboys' present quarterback is Steve Pillur, and while he may possess determination, he'll have to work on the grit. The Cowboys' fold continued Sunday at the hands of the normally harmless Falcons. If Floyd Dixon's first quarter score shocked the Dallas faithful, the ensuing kickoff must have knocked them silly. Robert Moore's score came just 13 seconds after Dixon's, helping Atlanta to its first victory since the strike and leaving Dallas a long way removed from its glorious past. The glory days are now for the Redskins' Jay Schrader and Cardinals' Neil Lomax, 2 of the NFL's most talented quarterbacks. On Sunday, the 2 held their own summit in St. Louis, but talk soon broke off when Schrader fired the first missile. Schrader's 84-yard airstrike to Gary Clark was good for a quick 7-0 lead. But Lomax also had his share of open targets, sometimes almost too many. The Cards held a 17-10 lead, but things caved in from there. Here, Vi Sikahima tries to pick up a blitzing Monty Coleman, allowing Marcus Cook a clear shot at Lomax. Lomax was sacked 5 times on the day, while Schrader got plenty of support from the entire offense. George Rogers was good for 134 yards rushing, but he hardly had a monopoly on the Skins' ground game. Schrader's 7-yard run helped Washington to a resounding 34-17 comeback win. Schrader is back as the Redskins' gutsy leader. Now that the Skins have clinched their 4th division title in 7 years, they won't be backing down from anyone.
The fan you've just seen calls himself Moses. He says he's going to lead the Saints to the promised land, that being the Super Bowl. Well, if he can do that, it's about like parting the Red Sea. Our next guest is a man who's been to the depths of a 1-15 season, to the heights of a team that has a shot at the Super Bowl. 8-year veteran out of Notre Dame University, Dave Waymer. I don't know, I feel like I'm surrounded here by Notre Damers.
You
are.
You are, very much so.
All right,
feel the power.
Yeah, 1-15 season. Now you've got a shot at the playoffs. So what's been the big difference?
Glenn, I think it's mainly been attitude. We had good players during that year, 1980, when I first came here, but it wasn't a cohesive unit like this team. This team is probably the closest that it's ever been since I've been here.
Let me ask you about the time that you really believed you can do it. And I'm assuming you think you can go all the way.
Yes, we do.
Everybody talks about it. This is what we want to do, but when was it, and what gave you the information that you could really do it?
It was probably after our New York Giant win. I think the guys were still questioning themselves a little bit after San Francisco because we had beaten them in the past. And we came in after the locker room, and we really didn't play as well as we could have. And everybody knew we didn't play to our potential. But we still were able to find a way to win. And I think that probably raised us up to another level.
You've been around here where they've worn sacks over their heads called the Aints. When you come back from Pittsburgh after defeating them, giving you your first winning season, over 3,000 fans showed up at the airport. What is that like, and what does it mean to your players?
Well, it was good. We were looking out of the windows hoping they didn't have clubs and knives that they had before, but it really made us feel very good. I think it shows the attitude of the city has and the concern about the ball club here.
David, you've been with the club 8 years, and I think that success always starts at the top. General manager Jim Finks came in here, head coach Jim Mara. What did they do that would dramatically change this team?
It probably is organization. They came in and really began, they started right with the players. We had some good ball players here, and then they brought in a few that blended in, and Coach Moore brought some ball players over with him, and they've done a great job of making guys work. I think it's one of his deals. He is a hard guy, but he's fair.
Vinny Testaverde, you played against him last week when you beat Tampa Bay. Can this guy turn the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into a winner?
Yes, he could. Vinny is, well, it reminded me of another guy from another quarterback, I should say. When Dan Marino came in, he started his tremendous career here. They brought him in the second, it was his first start. Vinny came in and did an outstanding job. He is going to be an outstanding quarterback in the NFL.
What do you see his being the best attribute that he has?
It's probably his mobility. The guy can move around. He gets away from the rush, but he's not trying to run the ball per se. He's still looking downfield while he's moving around.
David, from one domer to another domer, I wish you continued success.
Thank you very much.
Well, success is continuing 200 miles down the road here in Louisiana. I think success, as you will see in our Where Are They Now segment, is not always measured in dollars. It's also measured in the number of good works that one does.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again.
At one time, his sole focus was on wide receivers. As a strong safety, Tom Casanova played 6 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, making All-Pro 3 times. Football would be a stepping stone to another reality as he used it to pay for his medical education.
I started medical school my 2nd year in professional ball during the off-season, and was rather shocked to find that there were people that hung around the medical school that didn't even know there was a professional team in Cincinnati. And it made me look at football in a different perspective. And when I look at it from their standpoint, when you see a kid that's literally fighting for his life in the hospital, it puts football in a much different perspective.
As an ophthalmologist specializing in periocular surgery, Tom has returned home to Crowley, Louisiana, forming a practice on the family compound with his dad, an eye, ear, nose, and throat surgeon. Patients come from as far away as a 3-hour drive, with their age disparity encompassing the spectrum of life.
I think we complement each other very well. I think my training has been better in the field of ophthalmology than his, because so many advances have come about since his training ended. But his experience in reconstructive surgery is something that it would take me innumerable years to gain on my own. And with him in the office with me, it's been a tremendous advantage as far as my educational growth has gone. And it's been a tremendous relationship for me. He is a great person to work for. He's a great person in general.
Uptown ophthalmology in the country advances another step as Tom performs laser cataract surgery at an average of 20 minutes per operation.
A cataract is an opacity of that lens, usually related to age. The lens gets darker and can become opaque, preventing light from getting back to the retina. So in a cataract procedure, we remove that opaque lens and implant an artificial intraocular lens implant that takes the place of it. And the gratification is immediate. People see well the next day.
The gift of sight is Dr. Tom's mission. He also operates on leprosy patients at the only leprosarium in the U.S. outside of New Orleans. He recently has donated his surgical knowledge to Project Orbis, the world's only flying teaching hospital. Its objective is to combat world blindness. Inside the aircraft is an ultra-modern operating room. An avid outdoorsman, Tom has started a committee to clean up the environment in Louisiana to generate tourism for the state's depleted economy. He has utilized the tools of life to his and many others' advantage. What more could be left for him?
I would like to father twins at age 92 and live to take their kids fishing.
Tom, you're playing my song. I'd love to be able to do that too, and I understand it is possible because of the water down here in Louisiana. And Nick, I plan on taking several cases with me back to Kansas City. But I can understand why Tom Casanova has been successful in his second profession, because football-wise, he was a very bright free safety. I recall when he was a rookie, I said, I'll work on this guy. I'll look him off and then come back to the receiver that I want. But he was always in the right place at the right time.
Now, that Cincinnati Ball Club had 2 guys retire in their prime. One was Tom Casanova, and the other was a defensive tackle, was all-pro Mike Reed, who left to become a concert pianist. Well, in 1987, our own Todd Christensen has really been singing the blues. But after the last 2 Raider wins, I think he is changing his tune. So let's take a look and see what song he's singing.
In horse racing, they call it the stretch run. In football, we not so cleverly call it crunch time. That's right, we're talking about the last 3 weeks of the season now, where everybody's tuned into all the playoff possibilities. Lenny, Nick, I know you're down there in New Orleans where it's got to be party time every day because they're finally in the playoffs. But not so long ago, New Orleans, like many teams in the league, now at this time of the year, are playing out the string. People out there probably saying, hey, Todd, who cares? Well, the first time in my 10-year career, I care because it's the first time I'm doing it. People come up to me and say, hey, Todd, what possible motivation can there be for these next 3 games? You know, the fans out there are going to listen to announcers say clever things like, well, so-and-so's playing for pride, or they've got a chance to be spoilers, or it's going to bode well for next year if they play well today. Well, first of all, playing for pride is one of those vague aphorisms that's lived forever in football. I don't know about being a spoiler because, to be quite honest, I'm not that vindictive. And playing for next year, do you really think a game December 12th, 1987 is going to mean something come September 1988? Let me give you some real motivation. Job security. Professional athletes, as a rule, are some of the most insecure people in the world. Much like the model that looks in the mirror and notices her first wrinkle, athletes are worried about their physical performance. And when they lose, it's that much more magnified. When I miss a block or a tackle is missed or there's a fumble or a drop pass, it takes on monumental proportions. It's my fault that we're losing. As a result of that, your paranoia is rampant. And as proven by the scab game some month and a half ago, there are a lot of people out there willing to take your place. It's interesting, though, that whether you're in it or out of it as far as the playoff race is concerned, winning is still a motivating factor. I was interested in what Gerald Riggs had to say after Atlanta finally had concluded their 9-game losing streak with a win over Dallas. He said that even the people in his own home didn't want to see him. It reminded me of the quote where it said, "Victory has many fathers, but defeat is an orphan." Sure, be tuned into the playoff picture, ladies and gentlemen, but don't forget us waifs who are out there looking for our legal guardians. This is Barry and Sherry's cousin, Todd Christensen, for Inside the NFL.
Todd, that's why you always want to win, so you don't have to explain anything. At least that's the way I always felt.
Well, what happened to you last week then if you always want to win? Hey, when the going gets tough, pal, the tough get going.
One thing about you, you will not brag on anything. That's last week, and the season still very close. Time to catch up for Lenny D this week. And let's start with our marquee matchup. What a game we've got. In San Francisco, the 49ers will be playing host to the Chicago Bears. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. The name of the game is Protect number 16, Joe Montana. You'll see center 56, Fred Quinlan, 69, Bruce Colley, and number 61, Jesse Sapolo. They're keeping people out of his face. I'm talking about Joe Montana, so he can see the defense and select the man to get the ball to.
Now, the important thing, Lenny, when you're playing the offensive line for the 49ers is to be able to pick up anybody, because against the Bears, you're going to be facing 7 and 8 people coming. Here you're going to see Sapolo helping out, and they're going to need that against the Bears.
Play passes, they do this extremely well. Greg is being faked too. That buys some time for Joe Montana, and you give him enough time, he can get the ball deep. And who said he can't throw the ball long? Here's one to Rice for a touchdown.
Now, Rice has had a lot of success against zones. Here you're going to see Dawson here. He starts one way and then he goes another. He's trying to play zone. The difficult part about that is the Bears don't play zone. Here you're going to see again Dawson. They just installed the zone because people have been picking up the 40 defense. He gets up there just a little bit too late. You're going to see Randy Wright make a completion, and Dawson and Richardson are both beaten. They're going to see Rice on these type of patterns when they play the 49ers this week.
Talk about zones. The Browns are known as an outstanding defensive unit, particularly the dogs back there, but Montana rips them apart. You're going to see the linebackers are getting out of there in zone coverage, and it's going to be Rice once again. Here it is, protection for Montana. He gets down deep between 24 Ray Ellis and 22 Felix Wright for a touchdown. Nick, what a game this is going to be. Ooh. Two teams, I think, that probably will be fighting it out for the NFC Championship. I like Montana. McMahon, we don't know whether he's going to be able to play or not, but Montana's having a super year. San Francisco.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry Rice, the 49ers are playing the best football in the National Football League. Jim McMahon, we don't know if he's going to play. They are a gutty team, though. You have to give credit to the Chicago Bears. Those guys have a great defense. But I do have to go with the 49ers at home.
All right, we got to take a look at Atlanta and the Rams. The Rams are coming on now. Atlanta did win a game last week, but they have been playing poor football, and they beat Dallas. Dallas is someplace else. The Rams.
I'm going to take the Rams, and really, I hope Atlanta plays a good football game, because I think Marion Campbell deserves to have a couple of wins under his belt. Buffalo travels to Indianapolis. Boy, this is another tough ball game. Jim Kelly's having a great year, but Indianapolis, I'll tell you, that team is playing some of the best football in the league. I'll take Indianapolis at home.
You know, they got Eric Dickerson there. I don't know whether Hoby is going to play or not. And they're playing in Indianapolis. That's why I'm going with them. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cincinnati beat the Chiefs last week, but they tried to give it away. They had another field goal block and 65 yards the other way, but they did come back at the arm of Boomer Esiason. But I'm going to go with Cleveland's defense. Although the offense didn't do anything last week, I'm going with Cleveland's defense.
Well, you want to go with a rebound Cleveland Browns. Is that right? 7 points. I'll tell you. They were just dog way all the way, but I'll take Cleveland at home. Dallas at Washington. Interesting about Dallas. Tex Schramm has been all over Tom Landry, the way he's coaching. That's interesting there. Washington, Jay Schrader, I'll take them at home.
Well, I would go with Washington also. Detroit at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, we just heard from these defensive people here saying Vinny Testaverde is for real. He's going to be a guy that can turn that program around. I'm going with Tampa Bay.
Well, there's some hope in Tampa Bay. I don't see much in Detroit. I'll take Tampa Bay also. Houston travels to right here to New Orleans. Again, we have a bunch of the Saints on. These guys are believers. They have turned that season around. They are winners. They believe they can get to the Super Bowl. I take the Saints.
I think you hit the nail on the head. They're starting to believe. I think they had some doubts before maybe the Pittsburgh game. I'm going to go with New Orleans. The Raiders at Kansas City. Oh, poor Chiefies. The Raiders.
You got to do the game again. I don't know how you can make that interesting. I take the Raiders also. Yeah, Miami traveling to Philadelphia. Again, this is an up-and-down team. Last week, good. This week, who knows what's going to happen. Dan Marino was great. But I'll take Philadelphia, the weather, and Cunningham.
I understand Cunningham with the movement that he has, and it's going to be cold up there. I'm going to go with Philadelphia. Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay's playing better football, and they've been in the ball games.
But you're going to take Minnesota.
I'm going to take Minnesota. That's right, because I think overall they have a better football team.
I do, too. New York Giants travel to St. Louis. They're the Cardinals at home.
They're up and down, too.
They're up and down. Good football team.
Gave their game away last week.
I'm going to take the Cardinals in an upset.
Well, they gave the game away last week. I think they gave a lot of opportunities. You can do that, but I'm going to go with the Giants. The Jets and the Patriots. The Jets are such an up and down team. Against Miami, the first half, they were just awful. They're at New England. I'll go with the Pats.
Well, they had absolutely no running game against the Miami Dolphins. You can't run against Miami. You can't run against anybody.
That's right.
I'll take New England. Pittsburgh travels to San Diego. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers in an upset. They deserve to win.
I'm going to take on the San Diego Chargers out there. Denver at Seattle.
Boy.
Here it is. Seattle, how you figure these guys?
Nope.
I mean, they're great one week and awful the next. I'm going to go with John Elway and the Denver Broncos.
Well, I'm going to take Denver's defense, John Elway, because Seattle's too inconsistent, even in the Kingdom.
There we go, folks. We have a reminder for you about our programming. Remember to join us next Tuesday when HBO Sports presents Boxing's Greatest Knockouts. Hosts Mike Tyson and Larry Merchant take us through history's most memorable knockout. It premieres Tuesday, December the 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on HBO. Folks, that's our show this week from the beautiful French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana. We certainly hope that you've enjoyed the show because we certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Now, every time we go on the road, this Mr. Buoniconti ups and leaves me right here to finish the show. I don't know where he goes all the time, folks, but I know this. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on HBO's Inside the NFL.
You know, 2 weeks ago, I was in San Diego, and I had to get to the airport. How did I get there? By Katie the Elephant. Now, here I am in New Orleans, and nothing changes for next middle linebacker. I still have a plane to catch. And how am I going to get there? I'm going to get there with Snaky Jake. Let's go, Jake. Come on. Let's go. Now, he may not be the fastest, but he sure is the safest. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa.
This slinging cowboy led the NFL in passing a record 6 times. Watch Inside the NFL next week to see where he is now. Who is this former NFL great? Name him, and you may win an official Wilson NFL football signed by all of this year's Where Are They Now members. Mail your guess by next Thursday on a postcard only. In each week, one correct entry will be randomly selected.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.